We're going to go ahead and move on to the Titans game. They're facing the Colts. The spread is 1.5, and this spread is interesting because it opened with the Titans favorite. It switched to the Colts being favored. The over-under is 51, and somehow the Titans, coming off back-to-back wins over the Bills and the Chiefs, they are now underdogs to the division rival Colts. So Carson Wentz is definitely playing better football these days, and the run game is developing nicely with Jonathan Taylor, but Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and the Titans apparently still in prove-it mode. So the usual suspects are marked as questionable for the Titans, including Julio Jones, Chester Rogers, Bud Dupree, Chris Jackson. But on the Colts side, there's Naeem Hines, T.Y. Hilton, Jonathan Taylor, Xavier Rhodes, and Rock Ya-Sin, among others. So, Matt, I'm throwing this one back to you. What's going to happen? Colts, Titans.
So I'm going to side with public opinion on this game, or at least a Vegas opinion here, which it goes against everything that we've seen from the Titans the last several weeks. The Titans have been, which actually on top of that, actually could just position them perfectly where they've been looked down as the underdogs these last couple weeks, shown up and impressed and shocked everyone by knocking off the Bills and the Chiefs pretty handily, all things considered. However, the Colts started off 0-3, and since then they've won 3 out of their last 4 games, and they've looked good doing it. On top of that, one of the games they lost there was against the Ravens, where really, if Blankenship's hip hadn't decided to go out of socket or whatever happened there during the game, they should have won that game. Now, should doesn't matter when it comes to the all like records for the season here, but the Colts have been playing good football. Quentin Nelson just came back to the team. Jonathan Taylor's been running like a beast the last few weeks. Their offensive line's more fortified. Carson Wentz has looked, outside of that, whatever we want to call that ridiculous shovel pass in the rain against the 49ers last week, he's looked much better. Michael Pittman seems like he's on a semi-breakout year 2 campaign at this point, and it also looks like T.Y. Hilton's going to be back. In a divisional matchup like this, the logic side of me says the Titans should win this, but I'm going to take the Colts at home to cover the spread, and I'm also going to take the over here. I do believe that the Titans may have shown up defensively last week against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but I do feel like that game was more of an outlier from the Titans defense, especially considering the amount of injuries that the entire team has at this point. After a few back-to-back emotional type wins like the Titans have had, I feel like a divisional matchup is going to make things very, very uncomfortable. And I think the Colts just have more to play for at this point, considering they have another matchup due later down this year. So yeah, I'm going to take the over, going to take the Colts. And if you have anyone that's one of the starting lineups, I think Julio could have a bounce back. AJ Brown, you're obviously starting him. Nothing to say about the Yeti, Derrick Henry. Start him up and look for a fun, interesting game here.
Yeah, so in this game, I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one. I'm going to take the Titans to cover. I like the Titans a lot. I think they're not getting enough credit, just like you said. They have just came off 2 amazing wins against the Bills and the Chiefs. So I just think that they're going to win this one. They're going to come out. It seems like they're really finding a rhythm, finding a groove together right now. Their defense still is a little shaky, which I could see why the line has switched to the Colts being home favorites, because right now the Titans are giving up, at least for fantasy standards, the most points to wide receivers right now. So I really think Michael Pittman Jr. can have a great game this coming Sunday. But yeah, I just think the Titans are that good of a team. I'm going to take the Titans to cover and money line on this one. So, and I'll take the over. I just think both offenses are playing really, really well right now, and both defenses are pretty middle of the pack as far as that goes. So, yeah, I'll take the Titans and the over on this one. Tyler, what you think?
So we have 3 decently differing opinions here. I'm gonna agree with you, Jake, though, on it's hard to bet against the Titans right now. these are two teams that, while they've both been hot as of recent, the Colts have beaten the teams they're supposed to beat, and they've lost to the teams they're supposed to lose to. The Colts have yet to, in my opinion, have a win that I said, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that. They beat the 49ers. We all liked the Colts last week. The public did too. It was one of the bigger bets of the week in Vegas. They beat the Texans, and they beat the Dolphins. They, lost earlier this year to the Titans. They lost to the Ravens. They lost to the Rams. They lost to Seattle opening week with Russ. This is just one of those teams that, for me, they're playing good football, but to an extent they have a limited roster, and I think they're doing what they can do with it. Maybe Carson Wentz has figured it out. Maybe this is the week that they, surprise everybody, come out, beat the hot Titans. I personally don't think it's going to happen. I think if you can get the better team on the money line, or you can get the better team with some points, I think you have to take it every time. So for me, I'm with the Titans, but I'm going to take the under. I think these are two teams that right now their ideal identities are running the football. And when you run the football, if you don't have those crazy breakaway runs, the clock goes fast, and all of a sudden 51 points is a lot to put up. Obviously, I think between Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry, there's opportunity for those 80-yard touchdown runs. But just for me, looking at it, the game script is just going to be handoff. And when I look at a game like that and I see an over-under above 50, I tend to lean towards the under. So I'm completely against the public on this one, I guess, but that's kind of where I see it going. I think you guys nailed the fantasy matchups. There's really nothing that gets me, too excited outside of the usual suspects. I would say maybe if I had to throw a name out, Carson Wentz as a streaming candidate as a quarterback could be, something that pays off if they're able to establish the run. Personally, I could eat my words and I could see this game going over, just because if I'm the Colts, if I'm any team playing the Titans, my game plan's got to be, I got to get up 14 quick. If I can get up 14 quick and throw the Titans, off their game plan of just handing the ball to Derrick Henry, that's how you win these kind of games. So maybe Carson Wentz is worth a play there, but other than that, I really don't have too much to add. I think you guys laid out a lot of the fantasy options well.
I'm just going to jump in and say I'm seconding Jake's picks. I'm taking the Titans and I'm taking the over. The reason I'm taking the over is, like you mentioned, Tyler, there is those potential for the big run plays, but when you are running the ball so often, then that also opens the play action deep ball. And I think that both Michael Pittman, AJ Brown, Julio Jones, all those guys are really capable of nailing some of those. So thank you for listening to this little highlight of the 2 Minute Drill podcast. If you want to follow along to other games, here's a playlist for you. If you want to listen to the show in its entirety, show links are in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.